Good morning, Sadaf Sarwar here from the University of California, Riverside with the latest news on anthropology. Today, we are interviewing David Gilmore, a professor of anthropology at the State University of New York at Stony Brook. Professor Gilmore's The Manhood Puzzle is part of a book called Manhood in the Making, Cultural Concept of Masculinity. This specific piece, The Manhood Puzzle, highlights masculinity across cultural boundaries. I met up with Professor Gilmore and questioned him the dramatic ways in which cultures construct an appropriate manhood, the presentation or imaging of the male role. Hello, Doctor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Miss Sarwar. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Tell me, Doctor, does masculinity mean the same thing to all cultures?
Yes, in particular, there's the recurring idea that real manhood is different from a biological maleness. This manhood is an artificial concept that resides in various cultures. This idea of manhood is problematic and is found among various levels of sociocultural development. These concepts of maleness are found in all continents and environments.
How are femininity and masculinity perceived in cultures or society?
Femininity doesn't typically involve tests or proofs of action or confrontations with dangerous foes, win or lose contests dramatically played out on the public stage, unlike men. Men go through traumatic tests to prove their manhood, while women are more often construed as a biological given that is culturally refined or augmented.
Can you expand on your concept of femininity?
Perhaps the difference between male and female should not be overstated, for femininity is also something achieved by women who seek social approval. But as a social icon, femininity seems to be judged differently. It usually involves questions of body ornament or sexual allure, or other essentially cosmetic behaviors that enhance rather than create an inherent quality of character, like manhood rights do for masculinity.
What examples can you give that show the rites of passage into manhood?
Well, in my work, I've given several examples, such as the men of Kalamenos. They dive into deep water without the aid of diving equipment because they scorn. Diving is therefore a gamble because many men are stricken and crippled by the bends for life. But no matter, they have proven their precious manhood by showing their contempt for death. Young divers who take precautions are effeminate, scorned and ridiculed by their fellows. Another example is nearby Ethiopia, the Amhara, a Semitic-speaking tribe of rural cultivators. They have a passionate belief in masculinity called wanat. This idea involves aggressiveness, stamina, and bold, courageous action in the face of danger, which means never backing down when threatened. To show their wanat, the Amhara youths are forced to engage in whipping contests called buhi. During the whipping ceremonies, in which all able male adolescents must participate for their reputation's sake, the air is filled with the cracking of whips.
Doctor, can you explain what the ideal man and the outcasts are?
Of course! The ideal man in most cultures is one who is a successful husband, father, lover, provider, and warrior. The outcasts, on the other hand, are the men who are not men and fail their society's tests of manhood. Yet even they serve as a purpose, as they are held up as an example of what not to be.
What are the types of problems that these men go through if unsuccessful in the rites of passage?
They are considered outcasts, effeminate, and are taunted and mocked. In my work, I wrote in East Africa, they must engage in painful rites to manhood, and if successful, they return to society as men, and only then are permitted to take a wife.
Professor, it was such a pleasure being in your company and your attention.
Thank you, Miss Sarwar. It was a pleasure sharing my breadth of knowledge with you.